Who's that? Commander Claw. Who's bad? Commander Claw. I'm starting off with my favorite commander from the Marvel series. It was Storm, but slowly Iron Man, Titan of Innovation, has taken over my heart. I kept brewing, thinking of what I could do with it. And he's a toolbox commander, but I don't think players understand not every player, new players don't understand what a toolbox commander is. A toolbox commander is pretty much a commander that is very versatile, is able to always tutor the necessary tools, in this case, is artifacts, to do and insinuate what you want to do with your commander. Now, what you want to do with Iron Man Titan of Innovation is really up to you. And I think that is the biggest hurdle that players are going to face when they are trying to build this deck. They literally can't decide what they want to do. You will read the text, and I think the first question comes to mind: what artifacts do I want to use to do what I want to do? Actually, that should be the second question. First question is, what do I want to do? What is my win con? I will just deep dive into that, and hopefully you see my vision and ideas, and they spark new ideas for you on how you want to build your Iron Man Titan of Innovation. Because I think he's super flavorful. I think he's almost like Urza, Lord High Artificer, but with red in the mix. And it makes sense why he's 5 CMC, because he's on the battlefield one time when you cast him, and that's it. There's no games after that. Usually 5 CMC commanders, in my mind, that means you've already built a board state for him. So when he hits the battlefield, everything's in operation, just like technology. Let's go. Okay, he's a 4/4 body, flying haste. He's a legendary artifact creature, human hero. Legendary artifact creature, human hero. That's important. He has the ability Genius Industrialist. Whenever Iron Man attacks, create a treasure token. Then you may sacrifice a non-creature artifact. If you do, search your library for an artifact card with mana value equal to 1 plus the sacrificed artifact's mana value. Put it onto the battlefield, tapped, and shuffle. What does this mean? This means you will tutor any artifact in your deck and put it onto the battlefield. Now the next question is, how do you want to win? So, how do you want to win, and what artifacts will you tutor that insinuate how you want to win? That's how you build Iron Man Titan of Innovation. Okay? So, for example, if you're trying to do X spells, you need to tutor artifacts that just have synergy with X spells, instants, and sorceries. That's my idea, right? But I think another thing that underestimates Iron Man is the ability of getting artifact equipments for low CMC, tutoring vehicles, and they have so many other abilities. Like he's just fast. He's fast. Tutoring things out is fast. Then I'm pretty much telling you how to win before I'm even showing you how to win slide. Like artifacts in blue, you can copy artifacts. Man, let me get to the slide. So look, if you're trying to be a Spellslinger with Iron Man, I think that's super cool, right? You can have mill spells, burn spells, other spells. You just need to draft the artifacts that do that. Next up, you can clone artifacts. Like I mentioned before, blue, you can copy artifacts. That is easy. There's artifacts that copy artifacts. Artifacts that make more artifacts. You copy those artifacts. Like Iron Man is literally like Iron Man. You can create an army. There's an army of Iron Man out there, right? In the Marvel Universe. Next up, you can make him a Voltron equipment commander. He's going to get out of control. You can literally tutor all the artifact equipments with his ability. That's crazy. It's no longer drawing cards or waiting for a sorcery that says go get an artifact. It's literally sack an artifact, put it into play, post combat main phase, equip it. Disgusting. Next up, you can tutor infinite combos. Whatever infinite combo that you want that's in red, blue, and it needs an artifact, you're good to go. So I'm just going to show you some ideas on how to win with them. He's a Toolbox Commander, utility all day. I know, this slide looks super awkward. All you see is 30 cents price tag and encroaching mycosynth. This is the number one card, is an auto include for Iron Man. The reason why is literally this card makes enchantments, planeswalkers in your deck artifacts. So therefore you can tutor them with Iron Man. So whatever strategy you want to go with, if there's an enchantment that needs to be on the battlefield and you have encroaching mycosynth in your hand and on the battlefield, you can tutor it so you can do your combo or do whatever synergy you want to do. Right now it's only 30 cents. As of October 24th, 2024, I'm willing to bet it's gotta go up in price. Got to. I just want to give you an idea of the enchantments that you can tutor out once they are artifacts and they're in your library or in your graveyard, right? Fiery Emancipation for 6 mana. If a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals triple that damage to the permanent or player instead. If Double Vision is an artifact in your library, it's for 5 CMC. Whenever you cast your first instant or source spell each turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Like tutoring these out, Iron Man can end the game. That's what he does. He can end the game because he can tutor whatever artifact he needs. But if you can make these enchantments into artifacts, it's even faster. So I got some more, right? Sphinx's Tutelage. For 3 mana, it's enchantment. Whenever you draw a card, target opponent puts the top 2 cards of his library into his or her graveyard. If they're both non-land cards that share a color, repeat this process. Tap 6 mana, draw a card, then discard a card. Disgusting. You can tutor this. If it's an artifact, I'm sure there's copy artifacts or copy enchantment spells in blue, so you can make multiple copies of this. So you draw 1 card, and you got 3 copies of this. You're making opponents mill a total of 6. Next up, we got Ristic Study. You can tutor Ristic Study. What? Okay, let me actually tell you how amazing this card is. In blue, you generally can only tutor, you can only tutor artifacts, instants, and sorceries. You can't tutor enchantments. Green tutors enchantments. Or is it white? One of those two. But blue doesn't do this. So adding encroaching mycosynth, making enchantments tutorable in blue is crazy. And in red. It's an auto include. Auto include. 30 cents right now. Go get it. So I put Spellslinger in there for those players that want to, play instants or sorceries. If you want to mill your opponents, hey, we got Maddening Cacophony over here on the right-hand side. Tap 2 mana. Each opponent mills 8 cards. If you kick it for 4 mana, a total of 6. If this spell was kicked, instead, each opponent mills half their library rounded up. Okay? So when I say you can tutor artifacts that help you do an effect, I mean mill effect as an example. So we got Mesmeric Orb. You can tutor this for 2 mana. Whenever a permanent becomes untapped, that permanent's controller mills a card. So if you have Iron Man out and you've already cast Maddening Cacophony and you tutor or slash Birthing Pod Mesmeric Orb on a later turn, it's just disgusting. I don't think players are not going to understand until you actually play with it how fast tutoring it is. And if you build your deck accordingly, you're just tutoring what you need to do or insinuate whatever type of effect. You're eliminating game. Like turn 5, turn 6, turn 7, the game's over with Iron Man, depending how you build it. I want to share some more artifacts that you can tutor if you're doing the mill effect, the mill mechanic. Font of Progress for 1 blue mana. 1 blue mana. It ETBs with 2 oil counters on it. Tap 3 mana and tap it. Target player mills X cards where X is the number of oil counters on Font of Progress. Another reason why I added this card is If you're deck building with Iron Man, you can add proliferate mechanic into the deck also. Think about that. Blue red with proliferation, it can get kind of bonkers. There's a bunch of artifacts out there that proliferate or help you proliferate if you wanted to do a counter theme with Iron Man. Next up, we have Mind Crank for 2 mana. These are powerful artifacts for 2 mana, y'all. 2, 3 mana. Okay, it says whenever an opponent loses life, that player mills that many cards. So if you're running a mill theme, you've been milling your opponent, and your opponents attack your opponents. They lose life, and they're milling their deck. They're milling their deck. Like, what? So if you plan on going with a burn theme where you're dealing damage and you feel like using his proton cannon and his hand blaster to melt your opponents away, we got Galvanic Blast, which is one of the promo cards that go with him. It says Galvanic Blast deals 2 damage to any target, Metalcraft. Galvanic Blast deals 4 damage instead if you control 3 or more artifacts. So I have Ice Scepter here for 2 mana. You can imprint Galvanic Blast on it. Imprint does, when Isochron Scepter enters the battlefield, you may exile an instant card with a converted mana cost 2 or less from your hand. Tap 2. You may copy the exile card. If you do, you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. Utility, Toolbox. That's what Iron Man is. And this is not to say that there's other artifacts out there that allow you to copy spells. So you can make multiple copies. And if you have Encroaching Mycosynth out, you could really tutor out a Arcane Bombardment. Then since you got blue in your deck, you can really copy the artifact or enchantment of Arcane Bombardment. Sorry I went off on that, but I'm just trying to throw ideas out here for y'all. Moving on. So we got Mind Splice Apparatus for 4 mana. It's a cost reducer, one of my favorite ones. It has flash. At the beginning of your upkeep, put an oil counter on Mind Splice Apparatus. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each oil counter on Mind Splice Apparatus. You can tutor this, make copies of it. So if you're spellslinging is very effective when you have cost reducers compared to more mana, in my opinion. Next up, Aetherflux Reservoir. This is one of the most popular artifacts for combos, infinite combos. For 4 mana, it's an artifact. Whenever you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn. Pay 50 life. Aetherflux Reservoir deals 50 damage to target creature or player. Just Iron Man just tutors and stuff. I don't know how many times I got to say it. Whatever strategy you want to go with, whatever you want to do, just find the artifacts that insinuate what you're trying to do. Cool. So now we are on to cloning artifacts, right? There are some really powerful artifact creatures out there. Dark Steel Colossus, Blight Steel Colossus. And here we have Teresian Mindbreaker for 7 mana, artifact creature Juggernaut. When he attacks, defending player mills half their library, rounded up. Cool. Cool. You can tutor this guy. If you have a 6 CMC artifact laying somewhere and you want to elevate, and get something nasty to destroy your opponents. It also has the Unearth ability for 4 mana. Return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Exile at the beginning of your next end step, or if it would leave the battlefield, unearth only as a sorcery. So great for mill mechanics. I'm just trying to tell y'all there's artifacts that out there that can do Spellslinger type of stuff or those type of mechanics. And if you really want to get creative, you got Kiki Jiki. You have red in Iron Man, right? Kiki Jiki is another infinite combo guy, combo creature. As a goblin shaman, tap haste. It has haste. Tap it. Create a token as a copy of target non-legendary creature you control. That token has haste. Sack it at the beginning of the next end step. Just Google all the combos with Kiki Jiki. You'll see he's insane. Red, blue, and the fact that you can tutor an artifact to do something what you want to make copies of. Toolbox Commander. Mirror March for 6 mana. It's an enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature ETBs, flip a coin until you lose a flip. For each flip you win, create a token that's a copy of that creature. Those tokens gain haste. Exile them at the beginning of your next end step. So these two cards, I haven't described the other one yet. I just imagine Iron Man making an army. Just an army of creatures or whatever he wants. It could be artifact creatures, it could be real creatures. But you can make an army because you have red and blue in your color scheme. Cyberman's Squadron over here to the right, 7 mana. It's an artifact creature, 5/5 body, Cyberman. It says non-legendary artifact creatures you control have myriad. So you remember the big, bulky artifact creature that mills half your opponent's deck? Imagine if it had myriad. Myriad, it makes another copy attacking each other defending player. And they all have to mill half their deck. So, Cityscape Leveler, 8 mana, artifact creature construct, and also just to throw more tidbits out there, constructs are good creatures that get power boost when there's more artifacts in play. So that's something you should Google search too, or Scryfall search. Anyway, Cityscape Leveler is an 8/8 trampler. When you cast a spell and whenever Cityscape Leveler attacks, destroy up to one target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a tap Power Stone token. Unearth for 8. There's a lot to unpack here. So when it ETBs or when it attacks, destroy up to one target non-land permanent. It could be yours or it could be something an opponent controls. When you do that, that controller creates a tap Power Stone token. Tap Power Stone tokens, they only can cast non-artifact or artifact spells and only can tap it to use abilities. So they don't get mana. It gets mana, but it's not very good. Unearth 8. I think the Unearth mechanic is really good. You saw that earlier with the 6th floor mill half your deck creature. Artifacts that you're able to retrieve from the graveyard just pay a cost. It's like flashback, but it's Unearth. Next up, we have Court of Vantress. If you've seen my videos, this is my favorite enchantment in blue. Favorite enchantment. It's been in every single video I've noticed, personally. I'm adding it to every one of my decks. It is for 4 mana enchantment. When it ETBs, you become the Monarch. That happens on ETB. So Monarch is, if you go to your end step, you are the Monarch. You get to draw a card. If an opponent attacks you and deals combat damage, they become the Monarch. Okay, back to the card. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose up to one other target enchantment or artifact. If you're the Monarch, you may create a token that's a copy of it. If you're not the Monarch, you may have Court of Vantress become a copy of it, except it has this ability. So, this is a great card if you're the Monarch to create extra tokens of an artifact or enchantment that you have on the battlefield. So, I like that idea of creating an army with Iron Man. So, it's really up to you on what your creativity is and what you want to do on creating your WinCon. Okay, let's get into it, right? So we got Mechanized Production and Precursor Golem. These are cards that are in Lord Urza's Lower Artificer's deck, right? They're just making more copies. I'm not going to get into it too much because I just want you to have the idea that you could put something out on the board state with Iron Man and whatever your favorite artifact, you can go bonkers with because you can make copies of it. Your favorite effect 2, 3, or 4 times is insane. Mechanized Production says enchant artifact you control. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of enchanted artifact. Then if you control 8 or more artifacts with the same name as one another, you win the game. That's not hard to do. That's not hard to do. You know how much pressure you put on your opponents? That if you make 8 of these, you win the game? Come on, man. Yo, yo, yo. So we got Swift Boots for 2 mana and Commander's Plate. Quick artifacts that you can tutor with Iron Man. For 1 mana? Commander's Plate? That's when you do his attack trigger, sacrificing a treasure token. You can pull out Commander's Plate, then equip it for 3. If you don't know what Commander Plate does, it's over here on the right hand side. Equipped creature gets +3/+3 and has protection from each color that's not in your commander's identity. So it has protection from green, white, and black. Okay. So black has a lot of destroy target creature. White has exile a bunch of creatures. Green says destroy target artifact. And remember, Iron Man is a legendary artifact creature. He's very susceptible to removal. Okay, so Commander's play is probably a priority of attaching to Iron Man. And let's say Commander's plate get destroyed. You have another option. Swift Boots. There's only 2 CMC. Go tutor it. Iron Man has hexproof for 5 mana. That's why Iron Man is amazing. You can build it any type of way, and like you're just like it's like you're playing Legos fast. Like you're building the Iron Man Lego, you're just putting it together. And whatever you want to do, you want to do, and you will do it. Like you are making this deck very directional with purpose. Don't get decision paralysis while you're building this deck. Do what you want to do and say you want to do that and build it that way. That's the key to building him. So yeah, I thought the swords as artifact equipments are very interesting because at first I thought they were going to be legendary, but they're not. So you can make copies of these. Copying of the swords and just stacking the swords and equipping it to Voltron, to Iron Man, this could get stupid. So Sword of Wealth and Power for 3 mana is an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from instants and from sorceries. Whenever equipped creature deals damage to a player, create a treasure token. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So if you're in a Spellslinger, you might want to add Sword of Wealth and Power to this. So if you have 2 copies of this and attached to Iron Man and you're a Spellslinger, you're making copies on copies and you have protection from instants and sorcery, so none of those Swords of Plowshares, suspend stuff is actually affecting you. Like, you got to protect Iron Man. He is susceptible. He's an artifact creature. Artifact creatures die to everything. And you might want to make him indestructible with what's it? Hammer of Nazal, something like that. Yeah. Next up, we got Sword of Truth and Justice for 3 mana. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 protection from white and from blue. Whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control, then proliferate. So back to this proliferate theme, I think is very effective because hey, you may not want to proliferate +1/+1 counters, but you can proliferate other counters, such as charge counters, energy counters, infect counters. I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought about making him an infect commander because there's a bunch of blue cards and artifact cards that give out poison. And if you have him, I just think it'd be sneaky. It's just an idea. Just an idea. I'm not gonna go into it. So here we go. We got Dowsing Device for 2 mana, right? Whenever Dowsing Device or another artifact ETBs under your control, up to 1 target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. Then transform Dowsing Device if you control 4 more artifacts. That's easy. You're going to do that. We want to flip this card because I want you to put this land into play called Geode Grotto. It's a land cave. Tap it for 1 and add 1 red mana. However, tap 3 mana and tap it until end of turn, target creature gains haste and gets +X/+0, where X is the number of artifacts you control. So if you are heavy in artifacts, for 3 mana, you can buff up Iron Man to maybe what? +3/+0, +6/+0, +9/+0 for 3 mana? Remember, he has flying and haste. He's very evasive. He's going to hit somebody for commander damage. Back to your Voltron equipments, just a reminder that you can tutor your equipments here. Hammer of Nazan, I mentioned that before, I just said it wrong. For 4 mana, it's an equipment, legendary. It says, whenever Hammer of Nazan or another equipment enters the battlefield under control, you may attach that equipment to a target creature you control. This is stupid because, you know, you can tutor the equipment through his birthing pod ability, and you can automatically attach those extra equipments that you tutored onto Iron Man if Hammer of Nazan's on him. You know how fast that is? And it gives him +2/+0 and indestructible. Equip 4. Okay. Okay, you're going to pay that for. Okay, next up we got Bladegraph Aspirants for 3 mana Phyrexian Warrior. He's got Menace, nobody really cares. Equipment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, we care. Activate abilities of equipment you control that target Bladegraphs that cost 1 less to activate, we don't care because we want Iron Man as our Voltron commander. We just want to make the equip cost 1 less. So equip 4 doesn't sound good, but equip 3 sounds great for the hammer and design. Here we go. We're in the section of infinite combos. Start Googling what infinite combos you want, right? You can do that. But here we got Blasting Station, Mer Turbine, and Draw Scorpion. Pretty much you're putting in infinite number of 1/1 Mer tokens. I'm not going to explain it because I don't even like explaining infinite combos. I think it's easier to understand when it's written. But otherwise, like I'm saying, this whole entire video, you get to tutor what you want. This is just an infinite 1/1 Mer artifact token creature combo. So with that, if that is your combo, you can add other effects that buff the power of these creatures and give it trample, which is probably, I would think a player wouldn't expect to see this combo. But whatever. Okay, another infinite combo. It may not be artifact focus, but it has one artifact piece in it, and that might be the piece you need to tutor or birthing pod with Iron Man. So Iron Craig Feet, Prismite, and Nivix Guildmage. This is infinite mana. And with infinite mana comes expels or activated abilities that don't tap the permanent suit. Like I said, Iron Man, he can tutor that one necessary artifact or 2 necessary artifacts to get your infinite combo off. Yeah, I gotta move this video up a little bit. My head's in the way. But Decklist Suggestions. 38 to 42 pieces of land. That's not including mana ramp, okay? 12 to 14 card draw effects. Remember, he's 5 CMC, so you need cards in your hand. You need to be proactive in that department because if you're not able to drop any artifacts into play to sacrifice to the birthing pod ability, you're not going to activate it. You're not going to be able to play the game. Also, look for mana rocks with theme synergy. There's a bunch of mana rocks that say, oh, whenever you have something instance or sorcery, it does this. It adds charge counters, whatever. Those are important because you can tutor those and just elevate your game plan. That's what you're doing. Iron Man is a game plan type of commander. There's no wiggle room for anything else. So when you build him directly, do not have decision paralysis, stick with the theme, then connect. So I've been waiting to get to this point. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I've been repeating the same thing over because he's a very streamlined commander. We talking about Iron Man here. However, I have a deck idea. It's halfway done right now as I'm recording this, of energy counters. And the Blaster Hulk makes me think of the Blaster Hulk version of Iron Man. They should have did a promo of this card with that. That would have been so fire. But for 8 mana, Blaster Hulk is an artifact creature pirate, right? This spell costs 1 less to cast for each energy you paid or lost this turn. It has haste. It's an 8/8 creature. Whenever Blaster Hulk attacks, you get 2 energy counters. Then you may pay 8 energy counters. When you do, Blaster Hulk deals 8 damage as you choose among up to 8 targets. Yeah, so just imagine everything I described in this video. You can make copies of him. You can proliferate energy counters. There's so much to do. There's mana rocks that add energy counters out here, y'all. Look, if you want me to build this deck list for you and show you, write in the comments below energy counters, and I'll know what you're talking about. I need a lot of people to do it, or I'm not gonna share this deck list. But it is fire. Hey, thank you for watching this video. In the top right hand corner is gonna be the 5 best pickups for Iron Man Titan of Innovation. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe so you can stay up to date with more deck ideas with me. Peace.